Most people think Jeffrey Epstein's power came from money. It didn't. It came from something far more dangerous: information. And once you understand that, the entire story feels different. Because Epstein wasn't the richest man in America. He wasn't a tech founder. He wasn't elected. He wasn't publicly admired. Yet billionaires flew with him. Politicians met with him. Royalty associated with him. Ask yourself something. What exactly did he offer that made powerful people keep coming back? It wasn't status. It wasn't genius. It wasn't innovation. It was access, privacy, and possibly documentation. When federal agents raided his Manhattan townhouse in 2019, they didn't just find expensive art and luxury decor. They reportedly seized hard drives, digital storage devices, CDs labeled with names, multiple forms of recorded data. That detail rarely gets discussed deeply, because random people don't systematically label digital storage connected to powerful individuals. That suggests organization, and organization suggests intent. Now imagine you're surrounded by billionaires and political elites in private settings, private flights, private dinners, private rooms. And imagine you record more than just memories. You archive, you categorize, you store. That isn't casual behavior. That's strategic behavior. In elite power circles, there's a concept people rarely say out loud. It's called an insurance policy. Not life insurance. Leverage. Information you hold quietly so that if anyone turns on you, they have something to lose too. You don't threaten anyone. You don't need to. The existence of the information is enough. Now here's the part that should make you pause. Epstein was convicted in 2008, publicly exposed, registered as a sex offender. For most people, that's social death. Careers collapse, connections disappear, invitations stop. But for Epstein, he re-entered elite circles, continued meeting influential figures, continued traveling, continued socializing. How? Why would powerful individuals risk being connected to someone with that level of public scandal? Unless cutting him off carried its own risk. That's the leverage theory. And notice, it doesn't require wild speculation. It only requires one assumption. That information has value. And the more powerful the subject, the more valuable the information becomes. Then 2019 happened. Arrested again, charged federally. The world expected a chain reaction. Names exposed, trials expanding, dominoes falling. Instead, we got sealed documents, redacted pages, ongoing legal battles over file releases. And then he died in a federal jail cell, officially ruled a suicide. But regardless of how anyone feels about that, here's the part that matters. Information doesn't die with a person. If records were created, if backups existed, if files were cataloged, then those assets didn't vanish. They became evidence, and evidence gets stored, locked away, secured, which leads to a deeper question most people avoid asking. If Epstein truly had nothing but surface-level connections, why did his story feel like it was bigger than just him? Why did it feel systemic? Why did so many people seem nervous about what might come next? Because when leverage exists, silence can be more valuable than exposure. An insurance policy only works if people believe you're capable of using it. You don't even have to release it. You just have to make sure others think you could. That kind of quiet power doesn't look dramatic. It looks invisible. And invisible power is often the most effective kind. Now think about this carefully. Epstein wasn't building companies. He wasn't running a political campaign. He wasn't producing public achievements. So what justified his access? What justified decades of proximity to influence? Access without visible value usually means one of two things. You're useful, or you're dangerous. And sometimes those two things overlap. This is where the concept of an insurance policy becomes psychologically chilling, because it reframes everything. Instead of asking who protected Epstein, you start asking who might have needed him contained. If he held compromising material, real or perceived, then removing him doesn't automatically remove the leverage. It just changes who controls it. And control of information is the ultimate currency. More powerful than money. More durable than reputation. More protective than friendship. Now here's something I want you to think about. If the full scope of his records were ever made completely public, unredacted, uncensored, what would actually happen? Would it just confirm what people already suspect? Or would it destabilize institutions? Because that possibility alone might explain why so much remains sealed. Again, this isn't about conspiracy theories. It's about structure. Power protects itself. Systems protect themselves. And when information has the potential to threaten stability, it doesn't always get rushed into daylight. Sometimes it gets archived, quietly, indefinitely. So the real mystery might not be how Epstein built wealth. It might be how he maintained relevance after exposure, how he continued moving through elite spaces after scandal, how doors stayed open when they logically should have closed. Was he protected? Or was he protecting himself with something more valuable than money? Because if he had an insurance policy, whether literal or psychological, then his greatest asset wasn't his island. It wasn't his jet. It wasn't his mansion. It was the possibility of exposure. And sometimes the fear of exposure is more powerful than exposure itself. Some men accumulate wealth. Some men accumulate influence. And some men accumulate information. If Jeffrey Epstein accumulated the right information, then the most dangerous thing he ever owned might still exist. Not destroyed, not erased, just sealed. And sometimes the most powerful weapon in the world is a file that never gets opened.